Mathias, of course we're real. So am I. You know who else thinks so? Hank and Ashley. Happy birthday. It's so lovely to see you. And I understand that you would be speechless in front of me. Well, you know, if this guy over here doesn't, put his hand inside here, I become speechless. Well, actually, no, he could keep his hand in there, but if he... then I would be speechless too. I love you, you know. I really do. I really love you. How are ya? This is Guy Gilchrist, and I'm Jim's cartoonist. You know, Jim was the first artist of the Muppets, of course, and then he brought Michael Frith along, and then he brought me. And Jim always used to say, Guy, you are all of us. Because I was writing and drawing the Muppets, for the comic strip first for 150 million people every single day. And the babies and all of that. And, Hank and Ashley wrote to me today and asked me if I could spend a few moments with you. Here, I'm going to give you a little bit of Jim and Paul. Why are there so many songs about rainbows? What's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. And rainbows have nothing to hide. Let's skip to this part, okay? What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers and me. And you too, Mathias Austin. I've been drawing and writing the Muppets now for almost 50 years. Wow. I'm so old. But I guess I've been doing it for much longer than you've even been around. So it's so nice to be drawing pictures. And hang on, let me just finish signing this. I'm in my studio in Nashville. And I was just getting ready for a tour. So let me finish this. I wish I could show you, but just before I started doing this video for you, I was working on this. And I thought I'd finish it while you were with me here. And of course the Muppets are alive. You're absolutely right. I get asked all the time, how long does it take you, to write and draw the Muppets? And you and I are on the same wavelength. I say, until they're alive. Until they're alive for you. When I first met Jim, back in 1981, early 1981. I was hired by him in 1980, and then a week or so later, after Jerry Jewell had given me the news, Jerry was Jim's head writer, that I was going to be writing and drawing the comic strip, The Muppets for the Whole World, then Jim flew in from London, and I was in New York at the Brownstone. That was the home of the Muppets, 117 East 69th. And Jim would jump back and forth from New York, where it was his home. And then he also had a flat in London, and because the Muppet Show was being made in London. And at the moment that I met Jim, he was doing Caper and also Dark Crystal. And anyway, when I met Jim and he gave me the job of being the Muppets for the Whole World, he started teaching me how to draw Kermit. When he looked at my drawings that Michael had approved, that I was now going to be this artist that it had taken him 2.5 years to find, and writer, because I was going to be writing it, and Jerry Jewell was going to teach me how, and Michael Frith was going to teach me how. But Jim himself taught me how to draw Kermit, He just held his hand up and started being Kermit. There was no Kermit on his hand. So you talk about the Muppets being real. They sure are. And Jim said, Guy, some of these drawings are really, really great. And, they're lovely. And they're really, really good. And some of them are really, really great. But we don't want really great and nice and really good. We want wonderful. And I'm like this with Jim, like, how do I draw wonderful? What does he mean? But I kept that all inside because I felt like there was going to be this moment. Of course, I was in awe of Jim, and we had just met, and I didn't know how he worked yet. But in my mind, I'm just going, how do I draw wonderful? And when he held his hand up and started being Kermit, I realized what he was saying. What he was saying was that I was going to be drawing the Muppets in black and white, in little boxes, in newspapers for everybody. But there was life. The characters were alive. And when you watch the show, there's all this music and action and the voices and the performances. And that's the wonder. So I had to find a way to bring the wonder of the color and the music and the voices and the performances to black and white. And so that meant you're not just going to be drawing me like, I don't exist or something. But I was going to be animating. Yeah, so you don't just draw the puppet, but you draw the life within the puppet. And that's what makes us alive. So there's a story that I always like to tell at these moments, these cameos that I do with you. And here it is. So Jim had been famous for a long time. I was born in 1957, and Jim started the Muppets in 1955. Jim was about 17 or 18 years my elder, And he was like my brother, my father, my teacher, my mentor, and my hero. So he had been used to the blur, what we call the celebrity blur. When you're very, very famous, you're being asked to do a lot of things, when you're hot. And Jim had famous characters for all of those years. And this was the height of Muppet Mania in 1983. And we were at the Macy's parade. And Jim was just about to walk down the parade route with the Fraggles when the Kermit balloon sort of took off into Central Park. And so everyone had to go chase it. Now, I didn't have anything to do that day. And usually Jim and I were always talking about work, because that's what we did. We created for you guys. So that was always our talk. But at this moment, Jim was just getting ready to do the parade walk, and I was just there to be with him and with everybody. So Jim was used to the blur, when you don't have enough days in the week and enough minutes in every hour to do everything that everyone's asking of you. So I want to just put this into context for a minute and now give you this gift that Jim gave to me on Thanksgiving Day in 1983. So the balloon is floating somewhere over Central Park, and they're running to get it. And so Jim and I jump into the Lincoln Town Car together. And like I said, we didn't have a strip or a television show or anything to talk about at that moment. So Jim used that time to teach me something, and I'm going to share it with you. He said, guy, you do so much and you try so hard, and everybody wants something from you, and you want to give it, and you do, and you give it, and you give everything that you've got. But there's just not enough time, right? And things are going so fast for you that sometimes you just don't even know what you've done until you look back on it at some point, because you're trying so hard. So here's what I want you to do. Take a picture. Take a picture of that moment. That moment. Whatever that moment is. But don't just take the picture with your eyes, but take it with all of your senses. Hear it, smell it, feel it, touch it. Everything about it. Don't even tell anybody that you're stopping for a minute to take that picture, because they might blow it for you by asking you for something right at that moment. So just without anybody knowing, take that picture and put it in here and put it in here. Because that moment, that particular moment, it'll never happen again. And he held my hand as he said that. Later on that day, just walking back down the parade route after everyone had left, and there's all the balloons and the confetti and all of the trash and everything flying through the air, and I'm walking down toward Grand Central Station by myself, going back to my house in Connecticut. And I started really thinking about that. And I took a picture right then and there. All the pictures that I had seen that day. And do you know that at this moment that I'm telling you this, I can still feel the chill in the air, the wind, the chatter of the people, the street vendors, the smell of the hot dogs and cotton candy and all of that stuff. I can hear all of the sounds of New York. And I can hear the quiet of my moment with Jim in that limo. and I can feel his hand on mine. And I have a perfect picture of his face. Do that, will you? During your life, Mathias. Don't just do it with your cell phone because you've got a camera. Do it with all of your emotions. Because the rainbow connection is you and the love and the magic that you bring to every single day. So make sure that you remember it, like your friends Hank and Ashley remember you. I love you. Happy birthday.